Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Everybody, so glad. Oh my God, I got an amazing, a really amazing guest. I'm so excited. I'm like extra excited for this guest today. She's going to be talking about something that I'm really like deeply, something that excites me. I just love this topic. We're going to be talking about emotional eating and intuitive eating, reclaim your food freedom, and more like reclaim like your power to be tuned in at a whole nother level and deepen your awakening process within all that. And I'll tell you my whole story about her in a sec, but I just want to welcome you to the show, Kelsie. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Okay. All right. So, one of the cool things about her, to me, it's a little tidbit, but she lives in Rhode Island, and you told me literally like you can drive across the entire state in about an hour. Is that right?
Absolutely, it's a fact.
Right. It's,
Yes.
it's 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 just so fun. You don't meet people from Rhode Island every day, so I think that's just an amazing thing. So let me tell you about Kelsie. So Kelsie Michaud is an emotional and intuitive eating coach that I met online, and I was just totally blown away by her posts. So I invited her to the show because I started asking her questions about intuitive eating and stuff, and I've considered myself an intuitive eater to some degree for a long time, and because I do everything intuitively. And I also feel like I have my own stuff around food, like most people do. So I have certain things around food and rules and concepts and everything. So I just knew like she was just with what she was sharing, she just so good at dialing in the deeper truths about it all. And for those of you who maybe have issues with emotional eating and like just constantly be on that merry-go-round. She's personally has made a breakthrough in that whole diet mentality and everything. She's going to help you break through that and help you to really come back into wholeness. I let her share about how she does that, but she's definitely an up and coming spiritual rock star in the world, ready to make a big impact with her message. And so again, it's so great to have you here, Kelsie. I wanted to ask you, like, tell us about your story. What got you into, doing all this, sharing this wonderful stuff that you share in the world about emotional and intuitive eating?
Well, for myself, like you said, we all have our own thing with food. And for myself, I yo-yo dieted pretty much all my life. And I would restrict like nobody should be restricting. I restricted so much. And then I'd binge. So I did the restrict binge thing for many, many years, way too long. And I wasn't happy. It wasn't fun. It didn't feel good. And I got to a point where in my life where I'm actually a certified elementary teacher. And I did that for a long time. But when I had my second child, my husband decided, okay, we need to make this decision, when you're going to go back to work and things like that. And I decided I wanted to stay home for a little bit with the baby. And I was actually subbing at the time. And I said, I don't want to go back unless I'm going back full time. So I've always had this passion to learn more about how nutrition works with the body. So I started looking up these health coaching schools. I started hearing more and more about health coach. So I looked up these schools and I found some it was doable for me. So I said, yes, I'm going to do this. This is something I think I want to change my path, talk to my husband about it. At first he was a little skeptical. He thought, well, what is a health coach? Is that even a thing? And, we watched a commercial on TV that was talking about a health coach. And I said, see, it's a thing. It's a real thing. I can do this.
Mhm.
So I did. I went back to school and I became a health coach. I'm actually certified health and life coach. And let me tell you, it was the best decision I've ever made. I've learned so much for myself personally. I've done so much research around food and nutrition and diet and exercise and always just searching for the answer. and still yo-yo dieting within all that research, never really finding the right answer. And by becoming a health coach, this has brought me into a whole holistic approach to nutrition, and it has just opened up a whole new world for me. So within that holistic approach, I realized, all right, let's get away from that diet mentality. Let's eat more naturally and start listening to our body. And as I started coaching people on this, that's when I realized, that's when it clicked to me, wait a minute, I've been restricting and binging all these years. Like, I had no idea that I was a binge eater while I was going through it. Not until I started helping other people, it hit me. So I was able to heal myself through this intuitive eating, and now I'm able to help others to do the same. And it's been so freeing just for myself, what a weight has been lifted off me to now eat intuitively and actually listen to my body and give it what it needs when it needs it, rather than by going by the time on the clock, like, oh, it's noontime, it's time to eat, whether you're hungry or not. It's time to stop listening to all those diet rules and diet mentality and just listen to your own body. And that's what I help other people do now too.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, for somebody that was restricting and binging and all that sort of thing, you definitely was somebody who really was locked in, like, many people are. But I would just say a little extra just to share like how horrible it is. Like, you had very strict rules. I know how that was. I know that stuff. I have a background in psychology and therapy. I did for years with people. So it's like I understand, some of those dynamics, from that aspect too. And you very, very strict, very, like, so just, and then it goes to the other extreme. Okay, now it's time to, then we go to the other. So it's like that. And then that's how people are in general. You were just on maybe a little more extreme, right? So more of an extreme like level of it, but like that's what people do. Okay, it's time to restrict. I forget. I'm tired of it. It's not working fast enough, or that's what I hear a lot of. And I may as well just eat what I want. I'm barely losing any weight. I'm still not losing any weight. Sometimes people say, right? So people go through their frustration with that. And then with women, right, then you have all the baggage around weight and appearance for women, and way more so than men, in my experience. So it's, man, so I would love to hear more about the challenges that you had being vulnerable, if you can share more. Like, what was it like? Like, what was the world like when you had so many, maybe, I don't know if you had, I'm just assuming you did have a lot of rules. Like, what was it like to have so many rules? And then like the breakthrough you had when you really discovered like the power of this intuitive eating. If you could tell us more about it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as restricting goes, it was like, all week long I would be like, okay, I have to be good, that diet mentality again. It keeps popping up in those voices in your head. And so I would, try to eat the healthiest foods that I could eat, and not much of them. I restricted to the point where I wasn't eating enough either, because I had goals, like everybody, we all have goals, and I wanted to build more muscle. So I would go to the gym for years. I mean, for years on end, since I was like late teens, early 20s. And I'd lift the weights and I'd do cardio. And I think like the myth, like there's a myth around cardio. Like, as a woman, I think a lot of women do a lot of cardio or too much of it. And that didn't help me either. So I started lifting the weights and I'm like, okay, where's my muscle? Well, come to find out, I mean, after so many years of doing this, I wasn't eating enough. You actually need to eat to grow that muscle.
Yeah.
Who knew? So, that was one of my biggest struggles there. And then I actually hired a coach myself who taught me how to fuel my body correctly so that I could grow the muscle. So then I started eating, and the amount on my plate was like mind blowing to me. Absolutely mind blowing. I was like, I get to eat this much and I'm going to reach my goals. Like, it just blew my mind. And let me tell you, that was a game changer right there. That taught me so much. I've learned a lot from my previous coach that I can now take with me as I go on to help others as well. But yeah, the restricting it wasn't fun. It's not a fun way to live. And I would restrict so much. And then I would just be thinking about food all the time. Or I'd be at work and, people bring in donuts, or there'd be like like a teacher appreciation day, and the whole teacher room, the whole table is just loaded with lots of different foods. And I walk in and I'm just like, like, oh, I just want to dive into this whole table, but I want to be good, but I really want this. And it's just that fight in your head, those just angry words going back and forth. And again, that's not fun. It's not a fun way to live. And I lived like that for way too long. And getting myself to a point to where I am now, it took a lot of time. It's not a quick fix. It's not a magic pill like everybody wants, but somehow people keep searching for that. It's not out there. I'm going to tell you the truth. It is not out there. If you want something that's long-term, lasting, and sustainable, you need to give it time, and you need to be patient with yourself and show yourself compassion as well along the way, and not get upset with yourself, because everything is about these baby steps along the way. And these baby steps are what turn into that huge change for you in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So as I finally stopped counting everything and restricting and made everything so that it's not off limits, everything's on the table. Now all of a sudden, everything isn't so appealing anymore. So now I eat in a way that feels good to my body and in the amounts that feel good. So, and actually I prefer more nutrient dense foods because that's just what my body craves at this point. When
Right.
you're giving yourself, I hear a lot of people say, and a lot of clients will say that, I'm addicted to sugar. I just crave the junk food. Well, yeah, that's because it's all in your system, and sugar
Right.
is a drug. It's a known fact. It's a drug. So it's in your system. You're going to continue to crave it until you get it out of your system. Now that I've weaned off of it, I don't want it so much anymore. And when I do have it, I only need a little bit, because just that little bit is very sweet to me.
Yeah. Let's dive in from there, because it's like, I want to talk about that. Yeah, the sugar stuff is, yeah. I mean, isn't that? I mean, everybody has their thing, right? Some people like to
Mhm.
get the munchies; they want crunchy stuff. Some people get into the sweets. Some people don't get into the sweets. They busy drinking beer or something else. I think everybody's different, and that
Yes.
builds up the belly and everything else, for them, men and women. So, but like, I mean, I know that everybody has, those different things. Sugar is absolutely one of the big ones for everybody, for most people anyway. So yeah, I mean, but that's what I wanted to get into, is because there's so many diets out there. That's what I wanted to get to. There's so many diets out there. My guess is you did a bunch of different diets, right? I mean, I'm guessing before you got.
Whatever there was, you try it, the pills, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to take this pill because it's going
Okay.
to do magic for me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. So then you look for the next one.
Right. What's the best? Maybe this feels better.
Yeah.
Right. And you try all these different strategies and tactics and concepts, and they're all, in my opinion, they're all mind based. You could say, okay, science shows this works and everything, but like, honestly, like, it's not a natural way of eating. Almost every single one of them, they're not very natural ways of living or being with food. They're just like, just do this. This will get you your result. And I think that's
Exactly.
much the issue with the way we live our life, period. Right. So that's why this topic is so cool to me, because, I've done different diets like everybody else. One time I lost like over 20 pounds, like doing what's called the zone diet, right? So most people have heard of that diet, maybe not
Yes.
everybody. And I was eating these zone bars, and as part of my snacks, and doing, getting everything, you gotta add it all up. You gotta get everything balanced, right? Don't lose that balance. That's the zone. You're gonna be, oh my God, they'll kill you if you, so you're watching calories really, in a way, and you're watching your protein and your fat mix and your carb mix and everything. And to be honest, I actually kind of loved it. And I didn't have the cravings for food and all these different foods and stuff so much anymore. They did the porky pig meals and stuff like that. So I would take advantage of that. Like, hey, let it rip every once in a while. So you come up with my own system with that. And it worked. It brought it down until something emotional came into my life. This is where emotional eating comes in. I had the birth of my first flesh and blood, first daughter. So I have a stepdaughter too, and it was just like, it was a lot. It was stressful. It was like a celebration. I like, You know what? I just can't be bothered with thinking about all this right now. I'm just going to eat whatever I want for about a week. That's what I told you. In a week turned into a month, and a month turned into many more months. And it's like you start putting all the weight back on. And that's the yo-yo dieting. I thought like I was bulletproof. I did it for a year. Oh yeah, it was perfect. You know, I was so disciplined. Everybody admired how disciplined I was and how committed I was to it. And even my wife got on it and did okay for a while on it. But like I was so disciplined, and then it just wasn't sustainable. And that's what I find with mind-based techniques for a lot of us, depending on who we are. But like a lot of us that are really waking up more deeply, we just can't sustain this thing like this willpower thing, like you're just gonna make it happen. You gotta just eat these things. So I wanted to know like your own experience with that, like within yourself and what maybe you see in your clients as well with other people, like what your perspective is on that, because you know it's like you I don't know, like is willpower really needed within this intuitive, we're going to get into even what intuitive eating is, but like is this willpower thing like overrated? I mean, tell me will versus like intuitive eating, like that's kind of basically my question.
Yes, willpower, I think it is overrated. It's a mindset thing. And that's
Mhm.
why when I work with my clients, I help to teach them that it's not just about the physical. Yeah, it's great to lose weight and feel good in your own skin and have your jeans fit better and feel like you look good. That's all great. But if you're not making that mind body connection, all those other physical attributes aren't going to come. Okay, it's a whole body transformation. So it's overall health. It's not just a physical health. Okay, because the mind is so important, and the mind has to be connected with the body because they go hand in hand, they go together. So you have to be able to put them together when it comes to something like this. So with intuitive eating, it's all about listening to your body and listening to what it's telling you, all those cues, like the hunger cues and the fullness cues, and even your satisfaction factor comes into play here. Because with, like, first of all, if you need to learn how to understand what hunger actually feels like for you, because your body is going to send you a hunger signal. It's survival. It's what your body does. It's just how we were made. We were born as intuitive eaters. That's how we were all born. You think about it. A baby cries because it's hungry, and then it stops when it's full. It push the bottle away or push a plate away. Or even my daughter, she's 3 years old. She'll tell me when she's full. And I love that. I love that she can tell me that she's full, she's had enough. And I don't make her finish everything on her plate. I don't want to instill that diet mentality in her. And I don't want her to grow up like a lot of us have grown up that way for some reason. I know we don't like to waste food, and I hate to waste food myself. But okay, if you're full, I'm just going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up and we're going to put it in the fridge. You can have it tomorrow. Somebody will eat it. We're great with leftovers. Leftovers are great. So that comes into play with listening to your hunger. Now, as far as your hunger goes, some people don't know what that even feels like or what the signal would be. So some of those things, like when your body is starting to feel hungry, you might feel a little growling in your stomach. You might actually get a pain in your stomach. You might feel it in the back of your throat. I always feel it in the back of my throat. That's when I know I'm truly hungry. You might get a headache. Some people get lightheaded. Sometimes you just feel like you're kind of low on energy. I definitely feel that way too. I feel like, okay, it's time to refuel. It's time to eat something. And at that point, when you're feeling that way, it's time to eat. It's not time to wait until you're getting beyond that point where you're getting to be ravenous. Because what I teach is to figure this out on a hunger and fullness scale. So with the hunger and fullness scale, it's on a scale of like 0 to 10. And when you're at like a 1 or 2 for your hunger, like all those signals I just mentioned, that's when you want to plan for food. It's time to start eating. Not a half an hour from then, not an hour from then, because then you start to get that ravenous hunger when you go beyond that, or that hangry feeling that we all know, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And at that point, we're more likely to make poor choices, or we're more likely to overeat when we get too hungry. So that's why it's really important to listen to your body and get in tune with what the signals are sending you, and eat when you're really just starting to feel hungry. And then you want to stop when you're at like a 7-ish or so on the scale. You don't want to get to a 10 when you're on your fullness scale, because that's where you're so full, you don't feel good, you feel gross, you feel like you want to unbutton your pants, and you're like, why did I eat all that? Why did I do that? You want to feel full and satiated, but not stuffed.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I mean, it sounds so simple. It sounds simple, really, but it's really not. This is where a lot of people get tripped up. And that's why this is something and part of what I have to teach, and why I reiterate it in all that I say every day when I go online, just to help people along, to remind them of what your hunger and fullness should be feeling like and what you should be tuning into.
Yeah, I mean it's so hunger is so interesting. I mean, when you said like, only you're one or two you should be eating, I'm like, but one question I do have about that, because then I want to get deeper into the hunger question. It's a fascinating subject. So much to it. I studied a lot of this stuff, so I'm really into it. But if you're a one or two on a fullness, like you like, so you mean like, you're not a totally like insanely hungry, but man, I'm really getting hungry. Is that what you say when you say one or two?
Absolutely. When you're just starting to feel like, oh, I think I'm starting to feel hungry, you're starting to feel your stomach growl a little bit,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
something like that. That's
Okay.
when you're like, okay, don't ignore it. A lot of people do ignore it. Or, we
Mhm.
get busy. We all lead busy lives, or we're working and we're trying to just sometimes we'll just keep working through something. I've been guilty of that myself. I'm at the computer and I just want to keep going and get my stuff done. And next thing I know, it's an hour or two later, and now I'm really hungry. And now
Right.
I want something probably not, as good of a choice I would have made an hour or two ago.
Right.
And you're more likely to overeat again at that point, like
Right.
I had mentioned too, because you're just so ravenously hungry. That's why it's time to just stop overriding what your body's telling you and stop ignoring it and actually listen to your body, because you'll be better for it overall, mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and so that makes some sense. One thing I do find is that if I get hungry, and I don't give in to the hunger, sometimes you're right, it goes away, and it literally just goes away. It doesn't come back for hours, So I was, and sometimes it's that happens sometimes when too I notice like I'm going through a phase where I was eating a lot more, like for a few days, especially. And also I'm like, okay, I got to get back more restrictive now, like, because I have a whole, you don't want to know like my world of how I eat, it's intuitive, it's crazy, it's got a bunch of rules, and it's got a bunch of intuition, it's got everything. And it's like a playground. Okay, so we don't need to get into all that, but like there's one thing though, like where I eat more at certain times, it's like afterwards, like then if I try to eat less, then I'm you're used to eating more, so it's like you're hungry now. But if I ignore it, what I do find is like it will pass, and then eventually the system resets, right? So sometimes there is that. I was wondering what your perspective is on that, because um, with the zone diet, for example, that was a diet where like, no, you should never be hungry. You always should be, at least like satisfied. Like you should never be hungry. That's like you're already whacked out. I wanted more deep dive on this. So there's that aspect, and I have another follow-up question after that one. So yeah.
Okay. Well, as far as if you're saying, okay, like you ate something, or I'm not you're feeling hungry,
Yeah.
and you decided to ignore that, and a couple hours went by, and then now you're not really so hungry anymore.
Yeah, like in about an hour maybe, or sometimes, and then like I won't be hungry for hours afterwards. And it's usually when I'm working though, like because you're focused, right? You're not focused on eating at the time. Then I might feel, pretty hungry later. It's not always hangry. It's not always that. Like I'm all so hangry now. So I'm just curious, like, are there times, because I feel like there could be an exception to everything when you're doing intuitive eating, right? So it's like there
Absolutely.
be an exception to it, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, the thing is with intuitive eating, there's no cookie cutter here. Like there's really
Yeah.
no rules, because it's not a diet.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no restrictions, there's no rules. Diets have tons of rules.
Right.
Where with intuitive eating, everybody is different. We're all unique in our own way, and even how we feel hunger is different. Like everything I listed about how you feel hunger, either a headache or in the back of your throat or in your stomach, everybody feels it differently.
Mhm.
So as far as, maybe you were feeling hungry and then it kind of went away a little while later, well, that's particular to you. That's unique to how you respond. And that's fine. That's okay. Everybody's so different. And that's what makes intuitive eating so nice, is that you go by how you feel. You don't have to
Yeah.
listen to some external diet rule. You go by your internal cues instead.
Right. Right. So and that's what I love. It's like, so there's certain um, like guidelines, pointers. Like I always say, like I'm a teacher of, I help people with money and business, but I also ultimately I see myself as a teacher of spirituality and enlightenment, really. And it's like, and that's so true. We can only give certain suggestions, and everybody's different, and so that's where you can't go wrong. Really, ultimately, with the intuitive impulse. Or can you? I mean, that's kind of a question too. Like, with food, wait a minute, but with food, like, like I just got to throw out the other part of my psyche. But wait a minute, maybe you could go wrong. Like my analytical mind, I want to take over and be like, well, what if I just, I'm fooling myself and I say like, no, I need cookies right now. Give me those cookies. Give me the pizza, the whole pizza. So I know the answer to this question, but like, how do you handle that? Because I could easily fool myself saying it. No, it's all intuition. It feels really good. Can you tell us more about that? Because I'm sure it's a question people have.
Well, personally, I think you're not going to get to that point if you're honoring your hunger.
Yeah. Yeah.
You honor your hunger to begin with, and you're going to be okay. Because, like I said, when you get past that hunger level and you get further up there on the scale, that's
Yeah.
when you start getting really ravenous. And yeah, that's when you're like, yeah, you know what? I don't care. Nothing else matters. I want this whole pizza. I'm gonna just dive right into it right now. Nothing else matters at that point when you get so hungry, you don't see clearly.
Right.
But
Right.
if you're listening to the intuitive principles and following them, then you're more likely to make better choices for yourself overall.
Yes. 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 So yeah, and so intuitive eating doesn't
Like
mean
you'll
go
have the
through
pizza.
addiction, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Like you can
But
still, you'll have the pizza, but you're not going to go crazy on it. Like you
how
probably
about
would have if you
people?
were crazy hungry.
What's your experience with I know people in my life, I'm not going to name who they are. Maybe I could be one of them every once in a while, but I know people literally, it's like a drug. Like it's like drugs. It's like they have one bite of a certain food and it's all over. It seems as though they can't control themselves.
Hmm.
So are there people that are emotional or addictive eaters that maybe they do need something a little extra to deal with that aspect when it comes in? They're trying to listen, but like something just takes them over. How do you help people with that?
Well, as far as there's two things that we can do. For one, it's nice to find other coping mechanisms rather than food being your comfort every single time. Once in a
Mhm.
while is okay, but if
Okay.
food is your comfort every time you're feeling emotional, that's when you need to look at the bigger picture and say, okay, ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What do I really need? Stop yourself in that moment. Even just stopping yourself in that moment kind of trips that trigger in your brain from that habit that you keep going to food. And the
Mhm.
more you do that, I mean, it may seem like at first it's not going to do anything for you, but the more often you do it and the more you say, okay, I'm going to do something else that makes me feel really good, whether it's just to go take a walk and blow off some steam, do some yoga, read a book, whatever. Like I tell everybody, you know what you like, you know what you enjoy. I don't need to give you a whole list of things, even though I will anyway, but those are the kinds of things that you want to try to find to do instead, something else that makes you feel really good and that you really enjoy, and trip that trigger in your brain from that habit of going to food and bring it to a new habit.
Mhm.
And the other thing I like to do was, if you have a trigger food that you're just like, yeah, I can't keep it in the house, I prefer you to keep it in the house, because otherwise you're not going to learn to ever be able to live with it. So I have an exercise where I have the person actually have that food, have it whenever you want it. Have pick that one food for the whole week. Have it whenever you want that food. Yeah, you're probably going to go crazy on it for a couple of days. But after a little while, knowing that you can have it whenever you want it and you've had it so much already, it's going to start to lose its appeal.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you can be like, I think I'm good now. I've had enough, and then if you want it again the next day, have it. But don't, like, say if it's a brownie, for example, have a brownie. Don't eat the whole pan because you know what? It'll be there again tomorrow. And tomorrow you can have another one. And that's okay. It's about honoring that hunger and your fullness together. It all goes together, and keeping your mind at ease too with it, and bringing yourself to a nice safe space where you know, okay, this is okay. It's, you need to be patient and kind and compassionate with yourself throughout the whole process. But yeah, have whatever you want. Go crazy on it if you have to, but eventually you're going to stop. You're going to get to a point where you stop. You're not going to eat it for the rest of your life going crazy on it, because
Right.
it's going to eventually lose its appeal. And
When you're doing it intuitively, right? When you're listening to your body and your signals. So that's the key. Otherwise, yeah, people might keep doing it for the rest of their life. So how can people, what are some ways you can share with people? Maybe some people, I mean, I think most people here listening in probably understand, listen to your body, listen to your, but what are some things you teach people that help them to tune into their body more and their hunger signals, but also just what it is that they're really wanting to eat, like to really tune into that. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, if you're honoring your hunger, you're not having those cravings so much. When you get ravenously hungry, that's when the cravings kind of start to creep in, and you start thinking about food more often. And when you're starting to get to your fullness, you're recognizing that you're getting full too, because you're not thinking about food as much as you were in the beginning of when you first started, when you were hungry. But some of the things that I like to do, I do some tapping with my clients. Sometimes I'll just do it online as well as a whole group. Anyone who wants to join in, and we'll tap around emotional eating. And that, I'm sure that you must have heard of tapping. Um,
Right.
and for anyone who doesn't know, it's a technique that it can really help. It helps to de-stress the body, just for one, in general. It helps to bring you to a nice calm space. And it's been around for like 5,000 years. It's a really old technique. And we have these meridian points, throughout our body, and that's where all our energy flows. And we tap on these meridian points so that it brings balance back. There's all these negative emotions going on, and it brings balance back into our body so that we don't have those negative emotions running through us anymore. And we're speaking positive affirmations to ourselves. So we're bringing all this positiveness to us and bringing balance back to our body, because our body, it always wants balance. It wants to be in balance. And when it's not, it's always searching for balance. So tapping is an example of something that we do to bring balance back to the body and to help end those cravings as well. Another thing is just some simple deep breathing, some nice deep breathing techniques, some meditation as well. And I'll even tell clients, get down on the floor, do some just nice stretching and deep breathing and some yoga. They're all relaxing. Even essential oils. If you want to breathe in some nice essential oils, you can diffuse them. You can put them on your skin. Just breathe them in. There's so many different ways, so many different techniques that are just so relaxing to the body that can really help. And it's all a form of self-care. All of these are self-care for your body, and that's part of it too. Is being good to yourself and being kind to yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, uh, you said like sometimes people don't like on the hunger signals, like you mentioned this already, but how could people discern where when they're hungry if they don't feel it in their stomach, right? So like some people they don't notice that they're ravenously hungry because first they're feeling it somewhere else. So what are the common places? You mentioned the throat, the head. Are there any other ones, or how can you detect these hunger signals in other ways?
Basically, like I said, like some people get a headache.
Hmm.
You could be low on energy. I mean,
Hmm.
I definitely know when I'm low on energy, it's like, all right, it's time to eat, obviously. My body is telling me something here, and that's a cue, that's a signal your body's sending to you. It's a natural signal. And just feeling it, you can either feel growling in your stomach or an actual pain in your stomach, or yeah, feeling it in the back of your throat. It was funny. I had a client just earlier today said, "Oh, I feel my hunger. I'm noticing it in the back of my throat." She's like, "It's hard to explain," and I'm like, "No, no, you don't need to explain." I'm like, "Because I know that's where I feel it too."
Hmm.
So yeah, and then as far as your fullness goes, like you need to know how to feel your fullness so you know when to stop too. So when you start eating, like those first few bites of food are just so good. And then as you go on, it's still good, but the further you get into your meal, it's not as good as that very first bite. So that's when you know your fullness is starting to come on. And as well, the taste kind of starts to fade a little bit. And then you're getting more energy. You know, I was hungry because I was low on fuel. Didn't have a lot of energy. Well, now I'm starting to feel more energy when I'm getting full. Not to the point of where you're feeling tired and sluggish because you ate too much. You want to stop before you get to that point where you're full of energy, you're satiated, and you feel good. So
Hmm.
that's why you can have anything you want as long as you eat it in a way that feels good to your body.
And one of the things you mentioned online that I just really appreciated you saying, you said, hey, for the most part, all foods have something good in them that are helping you. Uh, but then I was thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, generally speaking. And like, there's certain food, I'm like, I don't know, is that a benefit? Like Oreo cookies, do they really have any health benefit? But I appreciated you saying that because it helped me relax a little bit more psychologically about eating certain things. Like, I mean, because the truth is like even if they're not that helpful to you, it's like when you give yourself into eating those foods, when you're doing it the way you're talking about, you're right. It's like you have it and you're like, yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good. I enjoyed that a lot even. But it's like I can have it whatever I want. So there's no restrictions. So now I'm not worried about going back to it because I could go back to it, but I don't need it. I think I'll eat things that are maybe better, that feel better in my body, like doing that check in every time you eat. Like, how do I feel now? How do I feel that without judgment? Just how do you feel? You don't have to make a conclusion or, come up with a concept about it, just not necessarily, but you just like notice. And so, but you saying that was helpful. Like, just like, oh, they all have, everything has something. So because I do think there is something to that, because like if you have a craving for something, there might be something in that food that isn't always an addiction, but might actually be something that's good for your body. I mean, it's funny is like in Ayurvedic, which I don't know if you've studied that at all, but in Ayurvedic, they've come to show like literally every food is a medicine if the body is in a certain state, and that's mind blowing to most of us. But literally, Coca-Cola, great, like there's a whole recipe to clear kidney stones with Coca-Cola. It could be a medicine. So every food could be a medicine in certain cases, but we have to listen to what's really true for us. I think is that right, or what can you add to
I
that?
I feel like that's where your satisfaction factor comes in.
Yeah,
So if you're having a craving for something, then have it. Because if you don't, then your body's not going to feel satisfied until you have it. So I know people who will, they do good all day and then they get to the end of their day and then they want to munch on something, or they're eating late night and they feel like they've blown their whole day. Well, a lot of times that's because they didn't give their body what it actually needed during the day. When you're restricting yourself, your body's going to keep looking for something, and when it's not getting what it needs, it's going to keep looking. So that satisfaction factor needs to be there as well. And then when your body feels satisfied, say, yeah, you wanted a cookie, have the cookie. Because if you want the cookie and you say, no, I probably shouldn't have that, I'm not going to have the cookie, and you walk away and you go and you eat, your nutritious lunch, great. But then you get home and later on, you're eating some chips, you're eating like a whole sleeve of cookies, you just keep going. That's because you denied it earlier on and you never had that satisfaction. So it's better off to allow yourself whatever it was you wanted in that moment. Have that cookie. It's okay. Not a big deal. Eat the cookie and move on. Go on with your day. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard once from somebody, I don't know where I heard it, but even Jennifer Lopez takes at least one little bite of a cookie every day, just, it's, like her way of like satisfying that craving. Like, okay, well, I could have a bite. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not trying to give a concept, but at the same time, it is true. Like, I mean, when you really think about it, like after there's so much to what you said about that first bite. Of course, I'm always paradoxical. I could tell you that actually the last bite is more meaningful to me than the first. That's just me. Like, at the end, I'm like savor it even more. I'm like, and that's usually when I tell people if I liked it or not. Like I said, wait, let me get to the last bite. And the last bite, I'm like, oh yeah, that was really good. But that's just me. But most people, it's like that first bite is like the big one, right? And it's like after that, you're just like they say, like you're just chasing the high, right? It's like, okay, well, you already got that high in the beginning by just having the one bite. But yet there is a psychological aspect that if it wants more to deny it, then you're going to continue to crave it. It creates that polarity, right? Like, okay, I'm going to deny it. I just no, but I want it. But you just let go and let it be what it wants to be. Then that's where seems like where the freedom is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's where the restriction comes into play, where no longer restrict, so then it doesn't feel off limits. The minute we restrict something, we automatically want it more. It's just how the body works, right? So don't have it restricted and you can have it anytime. Now it's not so appealing anymore. Maybe not at first, but the longer you do this, the more you're like, yeah. Like I've told a story about my husband and I. He wanted to try the new Kit Kat that's out, the dark chocolate and mint Kit Kat. All right, I went to the store, I bought it. Let me tell you, it's been sitting in our fridge for 3 weeks. We haven't touched it. And he even said to me the other day, oh, that Kit Kat's still in there. And I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, it'll get eaten. Like, whatever. Because it's not, it's lost its appeal. It's not like, oh my God, I gotta have it. It's not like that for me anymore at all. It'll probably still sit there another couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean that freedom alone would be priceless for so many people, is to be able to have that sort of freedom to feel like you're not controlled by your emotions, and the sense of being controlled by the foods, therefore, as well, is huge. So I wanted to talk more about, I know people in the health industry that I respect a lot that say, they're probably intuitive eaters. I didn't get into that. I only get so much time with each expert, right? So they say like, load up on all the healthy stuff, right? Okay, well, fine, be intuitive eater, but these are the foods you eat. So there's some of that in it still, but also that you should really eat a lot of greens, for example. Like this is like, you should eat like one of the whole big bins of greens, or two per day even, like one person told me. And to be honest, that kind of resonates for me. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe one, I don't know about two, but like, I'm like, wow, yeah, that is so helpful. Because I have a salad every day. I just love it. I love having a salad every day. That does make me happy. And so it's like, I was like, well, what if I increased it? What if rather than a pat routine of eating my salad, I just gave myself, so in other words, it's like a question I almost have, like, so, okay, they say like eating more would be better. Do I go with the rule, or do I only just keep tuning in to what I'm already doing? So in other words, my question becomes like, is it just a pattern that I think that's enough? Or is it possible if I were to eat more, I become even happier by making that choice? And if I were to make that choice because it intuitively felt right to take it to the next level, and it's not just in the moment like a body check only, is that okay? Is it okay to say like, oh, I'm feeling like maybe I should try this and see how it works, then see how you feel and like experiment like that? That's my question.
Well, our bodies are like an experiment lab, really. And because we're all so different, so not one thing works for everybody, or even a certain food. Like I might eat an apple and it might give me some kind of digestive upset, where you might eat the apple and be fine with it. You know, that's how different everybody is with
Yeah.
foods.
Yep.
So as far as your health goes, I mean, respecting your body means taking care of your health. And that's part of intuitive eating.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to like just make sure that, yeah, like that. I feel like there's that myth that intuitive eating is you can just a free for all, just eat all the junk you want. And that's not really what it is. And a woman actually just said that to me yesterday. I told her I was going to be on here, and I said I'd be talking about intuitive eating. She says, "Oh, I know what that is. You just eat whatever junk you want." And I said, "No, not really. Um, it's more about intuitive eating is eating in a way that like you're the expert of your body. You know your own body the best, and you are the expert of how and when you feel those hunger and those fullness signals, or any signal that comes along from your body. And it's opposite from the traditional diet, because diets impose all of these rules and restrictions around us, where intuitive eating does not. And yes, you want to eat for health. Of course, we all want to be healthier. That's a lot of the goals of my clients. It's my own personal goals. You know, we want to be as healthy as we can be. And you need to do that through eating really good, nutrient dense foods. And like I mentioned earlier, like now that I don't eat so much sugar, I don't have so much fit in my system, I don't crave it so much anymore. And I give myself balanced snacks and balanced meals throughout the day. And because I'm keeping my blood sugar balanced all day long, I'm not getting the blood sugar spikes. So I'm not getting that those up and down, you know, that roller coaster. I'm not getting those cravings. And then my body's not continuing to search for something later on at night either, because I've given it all it needs throughout the day. And that's just, I'm just naturally making those choices because that's what I've trained my body to do at this point. So if I do feel like a little something, yeah, I'll have something. I'll have, my thing is like, I'll go to like a little square of like dark chocolate, because there's so many good health benefits, and it's chocolate. So you can't go wrong. And that gives me my little sweet craving if I do happen to have one. And I'll tell that to clients too, you know, get some dark chocolate, keep that in the house. Or even something, any little thing. A lot of times I'll have some herbal tea after dinner. A nice cup of herbal tea to just sit with after dinner to me is just so relaxing, and it's such a form of self-care for myself. And then I don't really want anything else after I've had that tea as well. So those are just some little like tips and tricks, you know, I tell people sometimes too. And they're just healthier versions, healthier ways to kind of get you through the night. But yeah, if you're giving your body what it needs throughout the day, like keeping everything balanced, which is what I tell my clients, you know, if your meals and your snacks are balanced, then your blood sugar is balanced,
Mm-hmm.
and your body has what it needs, and you're good to go. So yeah, health is definitely important with intuitive eating. Um, so making those better choices are definitely something you want to do. But if it comes along and you're like, you know, I really feel like having a cookie right now. Okay, great. Have it. Don't deny it. Don't restrict it, because you're going to go crazy later if you do.
Right, right, right. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody, this is such a deep subject. I mean, that it's endlessly deep, like life itself to me. It's just so, everything's a mirror, right? Like the way you are with food also reflects relationship with many other things, right? So it's like so many other things. It's like what's right, what's wrong. You know, that's what our heads do. And the truth is there are no rules, and really other than to listen. I mean, just listen and follow what feels true when you're honest with yourself and when you're really listening to what wants to unfold, what feels good, what feels right for you. And if if it feels right for you to never to eat a cookie again, you could do that too, but not as a rule, like I can't have it. I think that's important to put in there too. It's like, well, you don't have to eat any of that stuff. If you don't want to, it doesn't seem right, then it's okay too. It doesn't feel right, doesn't you don't like it in your body, then that's perfect for you. Um, well, do you want to do a controversial question for a second? Just yeah.
Actually, yeah, bring it on.
Okay, how about the people who are, let's say someone is like really into like veganism, let's say, for example, and then, but like they just can't stop craving meat. Like they just want meat. They just like, I want some meat. but it's like almost a religion to them that they can't. Like that's the most horrible thing you could do. This might not be really your subject, but it kind of is, because they're having that feeling like, I just want to have some meat, and I don't know if it's right. I shouldn't do that. I'm not here for you to give your ethics, but like, have you seen this for anybody in your practice yet? And how can people deal with some of these things where part of them wants to not do something that intuitively they're feeling like they should do, but they've set up a rule that they feel bad if they were to do it, even in something like veganism.
Right. And of course, we don't want someone to, to feel bad for a choice that they make, but their body is clearly telling them something. It's
Yeah.
craving something. So if there is something, some kind of vitamin, mineral, or nutrient that's within the meat that we can find elsewhere, that would be my first suggestion, because that might be something that their body is craving, really, and have that as a vegan alternative, and then see if that helps. That's where I would first start.
Oh,
If
that's
it
nice.
comes to it and they gotta have the meat, you know what? Have it, and then see if that craving goes away and move on and see how you felt after. Take a look at how did you feel before, how did you feel while you're eating it, and now how do you feel after? Ask yourself, get in tune with these feelings, because a lot of times with this whole intuitive eating and emotional eating, we're pushing our feelings away, and we're pushing all those emotions down way too deep, and for a lot of years for a lot of people. And that's where it gets tough for people, because they don't want to feel the feelings, because they know it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel your feelings. Like, I feel like as society, we've been told it's not okay.
Yeah.
But it's, I'm here to say it is okay. It's okay to feel those feelings, and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What do I really need? Okay, I ate the meat. I'm a vegan. How do I feel now? Just ask yourself, get in tune with your feelings. It's okay. And if you weren't happy with that decision, then think about it. Okay, do I really want to do that again? Is there something else I could have that would satisfy that craving? Or, yeah, you know what? I enjoyed it. Maybe I do want to eat that more often. You know what? Who knows? Everybody's different. These are all hypothetical scenarios. But yeah, I would start off with seeing if there's something different, vegan wise, that they could use as an alternative that actually is, that they could be craving, that could be within the steak, and nutrient wise.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and I mean, I've known a number of people that were vegans for a long time, and they just kept getting sick, and eventually they say they just have to eat meat every once in a while. Then there's other people that find alternatives, like you say, that maybe work out for them as well. So it's good to know, that there's there's experts and there's people that can help them with all these different scenarios to help them figure some stuff out, when their intuitions tell them this, but maybe the religion says don't eat this or that, their literal religion, or their belief system, or their ethics, or whatever, that's can be a factor as well. So yeah. So yeah, from there, then I'd like to just, I know that you had, I could talk to you for hours about this stuff, but we can't do that. So our viewers only are gonna, and our listeners can only take so much of it. Anyway, but and I know we both need to get going before long. So I know you do have a gift for people. So we're gonna put it in the show notes for people, but yeah, do you want to tell them about the free gift?
Yes, I have a guide that will help you to figure out which kind of eater you actually are, because there's so many different kinds of eaters. So this will help you figure out what kind of eater you actually are, and then it shows you how to actually start eating intuitively. So then if you would like to download that, you can certainly, have that for yourself to refer to at any time. And also, if you feel like you're somebody who wants to learn more about intuitive eating or get a little further into it, and you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to chat and help you out.
Yeah, well, if you want, we can Do you do most of your posts on LinkedIn, or do you do it in a variety of different social media?
I do mostly Facebook and LinkedIn are my two main ones. I do a little Instagram, but mostly Facebook and LinkedIn.
Okay. Okay. So we can maybe put one or both of those links in the show notes too, depending on what you'd like them to, where you like them to connect with you. So I'll put
Right.
those in there too. But look her up. Look her up on Facebook and LinkedIn. You'll love hanging out with. If you love this, you'll love hanging out with her on LinkedIn. I feel like, I feel like I've got. Of course, if I want to go deeper, I would, I want to do that with her. But like, I feel like I got a coach on demand, to be honest.
Yes.
She's pretty generous, and she's constantly doing videos and posts. So it's pretty cool. It's really fun. So I really just want to thank you for being on. One of the things I do on the show is just to intuitively tune into your energy and your purpose and your gifts. Just is a quick little like gift and to help other people see the awesomeness of you. So can I do that for just a minute or two?
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. So the thing that comes up for me, there's certain things that I bring to it people's attention that I'm supposed to remind people of, or to even make you aware of sometimes. But like, I definitely get for you, I definitely do feel strong angel energy around you, and I feel like angels want to work through you even more than maybe you're experiencing like consciously. So there's a feeling of a channeling of these angels more, because that is literally like the energy that like saved your life probably multiple times is a feeling I get. Like or it saved someone else's life or something. I get the like, saving lives feeling about it. So it's like it just kicks in, and it's like it's not only intuition, but it's like it literally those angels will stop something from happening. And we can talk offline if you want to more, but because it's like I'm curious now. I'd love to hear the stories if you want to
Yeah,
share.
right.
But like I feel like there's like time and space stops. Like the angels come in and they stop everything, and they like allow for safety, so you're protected. So you have like this protected energy. And so doesn't mean nothing bad ever happens, right? But I mean, you have like this protection around you too. So I just wanted to say that, and that they want to work more through you. So there might be, transmissions of the angel energies and the specific ones and whatnot that might want to happen. And then let's see, the other thing is just that, yeah, I mean, I see other things, but like, yeah, let me just say the environment you grew up with created the need for more of this kind of support and angelic protection. And so it's again, I just don't know why, but they just keep wanting me to tell you it's really has helped and saved your life even more than maybe you realize. Like it's really been protected you. And it's really like emotional to me when I feel that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's more. You have such a beautiful energy that you share with people, that you are very magnetic for people to want to connect with. And I think that you know that you're just gonna just be more and more popular. You're just gonna like, I don't know if you could have a TV show or something like that. Share this stuff, but I definitely feel like you need to get in front of more and more people to share your message on probably on a bigger media stage. So I think this is such a hot topic, even though it's been around. I think like you're someone that could bring it more, and then within the spiritual realm, leaving a deeper spiritual realm with it. So that's anyway. So I just share what comes through. People would take it or leave it, but I just like to see my guests and just share what's coming through. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you today.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That was very interesting, and I thank you. I appreciate that.
Good thing. Should think if anybody listening in wants to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com, and or if you're like, I'm trying to reach Kelsie, where is she? Because she's building up her platform, but you can definitely find her, on social media and also through the link in the show notes. It's the link. I don't have an easy link to give to you, otherwise I would say it. So, but just check it out, check everything out, and then or go to yoursacredpurpose.com, and you can look on my blog and you'll find the link there as well. But you can go there. I've got a free gift to meditate and make money. Who doesn't want to do that? And it does work. I do have testimonials. People are doing it. And then if you want to get scanning from me, there should still be something there to get access to me for me to tune in. Right now, I do have an application up there to meet with people. So anyway, that's it. And then definitely, I just telling you, if you enjoyed this, you're going to really love connecting with Kelsie more deeply. So make sure you take advantage of everything. I'm definitely taking advantage of a free gift. I'm on it. I'm doing it. So I'm looking forward to it. And so just thank you, Kelsie. I'm so glad for what you're doing, and I'm so grateful for you to be on the show today.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me be here today and share my message. So thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Much love to everybody. You keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here on Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.